Throughout history, battles have often been influenced by strategic brilliance, overwhelming forces, and technological advances. However, sometimes nature plays a crucial role in determining the outcome of a conflict. Unpredictable weather conditions have altered the course of numerous battles, sometimes turning the tide when all seemed lost or dooming seemingly sure victories. This video explores some of the most famous battles where weather changed everything, leaving an indelible mark on history. 1. The Battle of Waterloo, 1815. The Battle of Waterloo, fought on June 18, 1815, was the climactic showdown between Napoleon Bonaparte and the coalition led by the Duke of Wellington and Prussian forces under Gebhard Leberecht von Blücher. A key factor that affected the battle was the heavy rain that fell the night before. The downpour turned the battlefield into a muddy quagmire, delaying Napoleon's attack until midday to allow the ground to dry. This delay gave Wellington's forces time to establish stronger defensive positions and allowed the Prussians to regroup and arrive on the battlefield in time. Had the rain not slowed Napoleon's advance, he might have been able to defeat Wellington's army before the Prussian reinforcements arrived, potentially altering European history forever. 2. The Spanish Armada, 1588. The clash between the Spanish Armada and the English fleet is one of history's classic examples of how weather can shape military outcomes. In 1588, King Philip II of Spain sent a fleet of 130 ships to invade England. The English navy, though smaller and less heavily armed, managed to hold off the Armada in a series of engagements in the English Channel. As the Spanish fleet attempted to retreat north around Scotland and Ireland, it encountered violent storms. The harsh weather scattered the Spanish ships, wrecking many along the rocky coasts of Ireland and Scotland. More than a third of the Armada was lost to the weather, securing England's independence and marking the decline of Spanish naval dominance. 3. Napoleon's invasion of Russia, 1812. The Russian winter is infamous for defeating invading armies, and Napoleon's campaign is perhaps the most well-known instance. In 1812, Napoleon Bonaparte marched into Russia with a massive army, expecting a swift victory. However, the Russians employed a scorched earth strategy, retreating and burning their own cities to deprive Napoleon's troops of supplies. As winter set in, temperatures plunged to below 30 degrees C, 22 degrees. The Grand Army, unprepared for such extreme cold, suffered massive casualties from exposure, starvation, and disease. By the time Napoleon retreated from Moscow, his army of 600,000 had been reduced to fewer than 100,000. The harsh winter was a decisive factor in the defeat, contributing to the downfall of Napoleon's empire. 4. The Battle of Agincourt, 1415. The Battle of Agincourt, fought on October 25, 1415, between England and France during the 100 Years' War, is another example where weather played a crucial role. Prior to the battle, heavy rains drenched the battlefield, turning the recently ploughed fields into deep mud. The French knights, heavily armoured and mounted, struggled to advance through the thick mud, becoming bogged down and easy targets for the English longbowmen. The English, led by King Henry V, capitalized on their advantageous position and the boggy conditions to achieve a stunning victory against a numerically superior French force. The mud and rain turned what could have been a disastrous encounter for the English into one of their most famous victories. 5. The Battle of the Bulge, 1944. During World War II, the Battle of the Bulge, which took place in the Ardennes forest in December 1944, saw weather playing a crucial role in the German offensive. Adolf Hitler launched a surprise attack against the Allied forces, hoping to split their armies and capture the Belgian port of Antwerp. The offensive began during a period of heavy fog and snow, which grounded Allied air support and allowed the Germans to make significant initial gains. However, when the weather cleared in late December, the Allied air forces were able to launch devastating air attacks on the German troops and supply lines. The change in weather allowed the Allies to regain the initiative and eventually push back the German forces, leading to a decisive victory that hastened the end of the war in Europe. 6. The Battle of Tsushima, 1905. The Battle of Tsushima, fought between Japan and Russia in 1905 during the Russo-Japanese War, was heavily influenced by weather conditions. As the Russian Baltic fleet sailed thousands of miles to reach the Pacific, it encountered rough seas and adverse weather that slowed its progress and exhausted its crews. By the time the fleet reached the Tsushima Strait, the Japanese Navy, led by Admiral Togo Haihakiro, was well prepared and took advantage of the clear weather that provided excellent visibility. The Japanese fleet decisively defeated the Russians, sinking or capturing most of their ships. The combination of rough seas during the Russians' journey and favorable conditions during the battle contributed to Japan's victory, reshaping the balance of power in East Asia. 7. The Battle of Trenton, 1776. George Washington's surprise attack on Hessian troops in Trenton, New Jersey on December 26, 1776, during the American Revolutionary War, was made possible by harsh winter weather. The crossing of the icy Delaware River in a snowstorm allowed Washington's forces to surprise the Hessians, who believed that such an attack was impossible in such conditions. The element of surprise, enhanced by the snow and icy river conditions, led to a pivotal American victory that revitalized the morale of the Continental Army and changed the momentum of the war. 8. The Battle of the Chosin Reservoir, 1950. The Korean War saw one of its most grueling battles during the winter of 1950 at the Chosin Reservoir. UN forces, primarily composed of US Marines, were surrounded by Chinese troops in sub-zero temperatures, often dipping below 30 degrees 22 def. The extreme cold caused weapons to malfunction, vehicles to break down, and frostbite to affect thousands of soldiers. Despite the harsh conditions, the UN forces managed to fight their way to safety, inflicting heavy casualties on the Chinese troops. The brutal cold, however, made the battle one of the most challenging in modern military history, impacting both sides and emphasizing the role of weather in warfare. 9. The Great Storm of 1703 and the War of Spanish Succession. In November 1703, one of the most devastating storms in British history struck England, known as the Great Storm. It coincided with the War of the Spanish Succession, where Britain's navy was a critical factor in the conflict. The storm ravaged the British fleet, sinking numerous ships and killing thousands of sailors. This sudden loss of naval power hampered Britain's ability to project power overseas, temporarily shifting the balance in favor of its enemies. The event serves as a reminder of how weather can affect naval supremacy and alter strategic plans. Weather has significantly influenced historical battles, turning the tide in favor of one side or dooming another. From rain and mud at Waterloo to the brutal winter of Napoleon's Russian campaign, these natural elements altered strategies and outcomes. Even today, weather remains a critical factor in military planning, shaping the course of conflicts. That's it for today's video. What do you think of our video? Please let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.